Hey guys, welcome to the session and let's discuss about that checkpoint identity management. Let me share my screen and I hope it's visible to everyone. All right, so myself, Pankaj, and I'll be your instructor, and I'm going to discuss about that managing user access. That's basically key concept. How basically you're going to integrate your LDAP AD server, and based on that, you're going to perform certain actions, whether you want to allow some access for the any URL, any applications. Also, you want to block, and also you want to gather some logs. So basically, learning objective of this particular module is going to be how basically you can define the users group in the Active Directory servers, right? LDAP servers, and also we'll understand how to manage the user access for the internal and external users. And based on the any kind of the application, any URLs, how it is going to be happen. And also we will understand how the identity awareness component is going to be configured on the checkpoint firewalls. Okay. So in first section, I will discuss about the theoretical part, and then we'll discuss about the practical part about the integration part. So first, let's understand the objective of the user management. So user management basically, once you create the users in the any kind of the your AD server, LDAP server, right? Based on that users, your network object is going to be created, and based on that network object, you can create a security policy. And based on that security policy, you can allow some services, you can allow location-based access, you can allow the network destination access, time frame to connect some certain services, certain application, time frame to connect the any network connectivity means you want to access certain applications, certain URL, certain data centers, certain servers in particular time frame. And you also go into authentication process and working remotely process. So if we are going to understand means once user is going to be created, objective is going to be created, then how this all action is going to happen. So user directory, we are going to leverage the LDAP server. So there's the AD LDAP server, and that is going to eliminate the risk of the manual maintaining and synchronized data. Means anything I'm going to create on the LDAP, it is going to automatically sync with my checkpoint firewall, and based on that, I can create any policy, whatever I want to that. And also, I will enable the centralized user management, query for the information, CRL retrievals, authentication user. Means they are the different any kind of the recommended with the large user count. You want to update with your checkpoint firewall, that is also possible. Required a special license in the mobile access plates. So in case of the mobile access blades, you require the special licenses. So we'll discuss about that as well. So let's discuss identity awareness. So once you're going to get on checkpoint firewall, first of all, you log in the checkpoint, your gateway cluster. So you're going to find this identity awareness options. In this identity awareness, you just have to enable some settings. If you're not going to enable some settings, it is not going to work. So very first thing, you have to enable certain settings, and then after this action is going to come in a picture, and after that you can just take whatever you want to take an actions. So like you see, identity awareness let you easily configure network access auditing base one or more the following item: network locations, identify the user means any identity of the users, then identity of machines. Based on this identity awareness, you can identify anything: locations, users, and their machines. What is the role of the users and what kind of the URL he's accessing, what application he's accessing, what is the role of the machine, their postures, everything it can be checked. This feature can be enabled. I will show you how it is going to enable. So let's understand how this all process is going to work in the communication point of view. Let's suppose this is the users and this is a checkpoint security gateway. This is a firewall, basically checkpoint firewall. And we have the active directory. That is a domain controller. AD is the basically domain controllers. So anything user domain is going to be created that must be belong to this AD, and this AD must be synced with your FortiGate firewall, sorry, checkpoint firewall. And based on that, whatever the user is trying to access, you can create the policy, and that is going to be allow if the policy is allow. If policy is not allow, it is not going to communicate. So basically, what is going to happen? The Active Directory query is clientless identity acquisitions method that allow the security gateway seamlessly identify Active Directory users and the computers. Means their machine and user. Means once it is going to be sync, Active Directory, it start doing the queries, and 40 checkpoint firewall is going to be just sync with this Active Directory, and they are going to get all the machine information, all the user information, and based on that you can create the policy, and that policy is going to allow any kind of the destinations, whatever destinations you have. In case you have the captive portals, means let's suppose you want to access any URL, but before that allowed to go on the URL, you have to prove your identity. That is a captive portals. Means when user try to access any resources, they direct going to on the your login web page. Means before accessing that URL, you have to validate yourself you are the right user or not. Then you have to give your captive portal username and password, and then it is going to validate it. Then after you're going to allow to access that particular URL. This is the how again authentication is going to happen from the AD point of view. So the previous slide, once it is going to sync, then your username and password is going to available with checkpoint firewall, and based on that username and password, they're going to allow the communications. After that, if you want to add the users, any users you want to add in the object sections, you have to create the access role of the user. So we'll discuss in the lab how it is going to happen. I'm going to show you in the very high level in these presentations so you understand what is happening here. But let's suppose you want to integrate any of the users on the checkpoint firewall. So you must have to be, integrate the object, means whatever the object, their domain name, common name, or whatever the organization unit, right? Their domain controller details as well. You have to integrate that. So managing users internally differ when incorporating LDAP. User management is user directory handled externally and not locally. User directory server template, unlike the internal, means you have to integrate the users. After that, integrating the users, it is going to fetch the informations from your LDAP server, and based on that, it is going to take an actions. And after that, you have to create the access policy. Means based on that users, means your user department, user like what are the user, their department, and you can allow the access like FTP access should be allowed or not. Means after identify the awareness, means once you sync that everything, your identity has been activated and you can create the access role objects and use them to source and destination column for the access control policy rules. Means whatever the policy you want to create, you can create from here. And based on that, they're going to take an actions. And rule base, you can just again create, means access policy rule and rule base, you're going to create again. What is a log track user identity awareness? You can define the policy with the user who can send the traffic specific. So sales departments, any user, salespersons. So the very first thing you have to activate that, blades. Once your blade is going to be activated, then you have to sync your AD. Means there is a process. I will tell you how the all the process is going to happen. Once the process is going to be completed, then you are going to be right integrate everything. So you can see this is the lab, how this is going to be integrate the lab. I'll show you this all access, how it is going to be lab identity awareness is going to be work. But this is a very small topic, but it's very interesting topic. I hope you guys understand. So I will explain in the more details about that how AD is going to be integrated, what is step-by-step process for that. But for time being, I hope you understand about this AD service. Thank you so much and see you in the next chapter.